Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. And surprisingly, there are only a few clouds in the sky after this morning's downpour. It's been just raining and raining and raining the entire day. It hasn't really stopped until the last couple of hours. Thankfully, we've been able to take off all the jackets and now enjoy the sun. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Craig. This is a live and interactive safari, so we look forward to chatting to you on various platforms this afternoon. Now, for those of you who have maybe been on holiday for a few days and have missed out on all sorts of exciting news, well, guess what? We're going to be going live again to Nat Geo Wild after some big game. I'm not sure which one it is, but apparently it's quite a big deal in the States. So straight after that, you'll be joining us again for a week filled with primetime safaris. How exciting is that? And that's not all. If perhaps you lost some money on this other game that everybody's been talking about, you could still win a second time with us, because Safari Bingo is back. Can you believe it? I can't. I've never played it before, but I look forward to playing it with you for the first time. So if you do want to find out more on how you can win a trip for two to Africa, you have to be from the United States, I'm afraid, in order to win the prize. All you have to do is head across to NatGeo/Safari Live. And, well, you can find out how to play the game. But right, back to the buffalo. Well, Craig and I came driving from miles and miles away. We saw this herd of buffalo from quite a far distance away. And I said to Craig, well, I haven't actually spent some time with a rather large herd of buffalo. So here we are. We found them, and they keep staring at us. They kind of haven't taken their eyes off us once. I don't know what they see in us. We don't look tasty. We don't look like grass. That's all around them. And I haven't seen any lions, and I haven't heard of anybody finding any lions within this area. So I don't think they have much to worry about just yet. Now, I'm just very quickly going to tell this vehicle that's parked on top of us to please switch their car off while we're live. Thank you very much, sir. That's very kind of you. So we've of course got this massive breeding herd, and it's, well, an animal that we don't get to see down in South Africa for very often. And hopefully they'll make their return this year, who knows, down on the Sabi sand, perhaps just as I get back to Djuma in March. Some of the herds will come streaming up from the Sand River and the Sabi River to come and say hello to us. It's always nice, and then Nkuhumas will be happy. But for now, these buffalo are okay, and I don't think there would be too many things that would want to mess with such a large herd. I don't know, there must be about 50 or 60 of them here, maybe even a couple more. But it isn't just me out on safari in the Masai Mara National Reserve. There's somebody else out and about, and he's on the other side of the Mara River. And, well, his name is Ralph, and I know he's excited to say hello.
I am excited indeed. Thank you, Taylor. Welcome aboard, everybody, to the second part of the Sunset Safari. We're coming to you from just on the other side of the Mara River, and we're in the Mara Triangle, to be exact. You're watching Safari Live, and my name is Ralph Kirsten, and my trusty wingman on the camera is Archie today. Thanks, Archie. Welcome, welcome. Please don't forget to join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Send us your questions and your comments because we'd love for you to be involved in the largest game drive in the world. Now, everybody, it's really exciting because this morning was very wet, but the sun has come out, the clouds have dispersed, and I tell you what, it's looking like a wonderful afternoon. It's nice and cool, not too hot. We're probably looking at mid-20s Celsius degrees, so about 25 degrees with a little bit of a breeze, so lower 70 degrees Fahrenheit, so nice and comfortable. And we're just sitting here watching a lone elephant bull just meandering his way through the plains here as he feeds a little bit, and he's also he was wiping his eye with his trunk. I wonder if he got a little bit of dust in it. But now we're just watching him and his bottom as he walks away from us. Now, Dale, you want to know if elephants see in color? Dale, yes, they can see color, and their eyesight is equated to pretty much that of a human. So, whatever we can see, they say that I'm not a scientist myself, and I've never looked through the eyes of an elephant, but they do say that they can see pretty much as well as we can, and what we can as well. And that's quite different to that, for instance, like the cats, which can only see the spectrum between yellow and violet, and they also see things quite a lot duller than we do. But with elephants per se, they have a decent eyesight. Well, our eyesight as humans is not that brilliant if we have to think about birds and especially raptors. From the distances that they are able to see, our eyesight is pretty poor. But now for elephants, their eyesight, yes, is reasonable, comparable to humans, but their smell is their real sense that they use the most, and obviously using their trunk to pick up any sense through the breeze that comes towards them. And that's the reason why very often when they see you, they will sort of point their trunk towards you, trying to pull in your smell and work out exactly what you are. So we've stopped with one of the big five, but we've just started. Let's hope for all of the big five on this drive. But speaking of the big five, Taylor on the other side of the river has got another one of them to show you.
And we've got quite a few of them. We're still with the same herd of buffalo, in fact, and I'm actually enjoying it. It's very peaceful here, and I think it's just because it's got so hot. I promise you, this morning, Craig and I were all wrapped up. Well, I'm sure you would have seen it with Jamie and Ralph as they were driving around on the sunrise safari, and it was just absolutely freezing. I felt like I didn't have enough clothes. Anyways, I wonder what those buffalo would have been up to. I'm sure they would have just been sitting out of the rain, but they're doing a bit of that now too, kind of just lounging about and resting. The herd almost seems as though they're uncertain as what they should do, if they should rest or if they should graze, should they go down and drink some water. They're very indecisive creatures at the moment, but very peaceful nonetheless. Monique, you said that the buffalo are jealous of my mud wallowing skills. They have not seen anything just yet. They've only seen me mud wallow in a car. Wait until I get out and really show them how to mud wallow. But my goodness, between myself, Jamie and Ralph, we're doing a sterling job at testing the vehicles and putting them through their absolute maximum. But anyways, they're doing a good job, don't you think? And it's fun slipping and sliding. Craig and I almost got stuck this afternoon already. We both looked at this crossing and we thought to these buffalo. It was basically the deciding factor. It was, if we don't go through this crossing, we leave the buffalo and we go look for something else, or are we going to risk it for the biscuit? And we did, and we got a cookie that was chocolate coated. So I mean, it was the best decision. We did have to go through with a bit of speed though. We did get sucked back, thank goodness. I put my foot down on the accelerator just to help us through a little bit, and there was quite deep ruts, and those are the things that get you. They hold you down. So we managed to get through that, so that was quite nice, and well, here we are. So that's kind of been our afternoon so far. And now we really aren't that far as the crow flies from the Black Rock Pride, and I'm sure you're all asking, Taylor, you promised us the Black Rock Pride. I'll explain that. Michael, you wanting to know what the time is at the moment? Well, if I have a look at my mobile device, it says that it is 38 minutes past 3 in the afternoon, Eastern African time. So very specific. I would have given you the seconds, but unfortunately I don't have my watch on. But so yes, that is the time now, and before you know it, can you believe the sun is going to be going down? I can't believe how quickly the days move out here in the Mara. So back to the Black Rock Pride. Apparently there hasn't been much food lurking about. So the rocks that those lions like to lay about on, as well, they should come to this area. And like I was saying, we're not actually that far. As a crow flies, we're probably 2 to 3 kilometers away, so it's not impossible that we could see them moving down into this area. So I met a very nice guide that works at the Sand River camping.
everybody. I don't know what happened there, but we're going from one wonderful wallower to another, although these ones are a little bit smaller than the buffalo that Taylor was watching. But with all the rain that we've had, there's lots of little pools around, and it makes for wonderful wallowing spots, and there is none better than the warthog to go and revel in the little pools that are created when it rains. And here we've got some little piglets that are also just copying mom and dad and getting their bodies full of mud. And they're also feeding exactly like mom and dad as well on their hocks, as they make it easier for themselves. Instead of really bending their neck to get down to the grass, they make things a little bit easier for themselves and getting much closer down to the ground. Now, there you can see that is the female. And it's obvious, we did chat about it quite a while ago, but obviously you can see the nipples there on the female, and she is obviously lactating, so you can see a little bit of build-up, or she seems a little bit fatter. That is obviously her mammary glands, but males will also have little nipples, and there was a big discussion that we had recently as to why do males have nipples, and it's almost like a useless body part that a lot of male mammals have, because there seems to be pretty much no use for it. But there are only a few mammals that don't, the males that don't have nipples, and that includes a lot of the horse or those kind of species, donkeys, zebra, horses. The males don't have nipples with them. Also rodents, the males don't have, and also the platypus. And it seems that it's either a vestigial remnant of our evolutionary past, that maybe at some stage males did have use for nipples, but it's a little bit like our appendix or our a coccyx, where we used to have possibly a little tail, and now it's still there, but we don't have any use for it anymore. But it's a real scientific debate. Has it evolved away, or is it something that we might gain use of in the future? It's a very interesting topic. But if you've got any questions or comments around that point, please send them through on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. It is a very interesting topic that I'd like for anybody to be involved in. But there we can see the whole family getting down to a little bit of grazing, as they have had a little bit of a cool down, and now they're all just going about feeding. Now, Tom, thanks for your comment saying that warthogs are wonderful animals, nothing like their cousin or the normal pig. Well, yes, but I think only a mother could love that face, don't you? Because they are so ugly that they're a little bit beautiful, isn't it? I don't know, it's a little bit like a bat's face or even a wildebeest. They also have rather strange looks about them. But nonetheless, they are very wonderful animals. And so I think we're going to move on a little bit. My plan is to head towards the swampy area and see if there's any lions about. There's probably some elephants. But while we make our way over there, let's send you on back to Taylor on the other side of the river. And I think she's got some big animals once more to show you.
Yeah, still the same herd. We just repositioned because apparently we were sitting in a boggy spot with gremlins. Sorry that I disappeared on all of you like that. We'll get back to the chat about the Black Rock Pride. But our buffalo is still around, and they're all looking at us, except that one, who's now sat down. And I must tell you, because Craig thinks he's going to get away with it, Craig was saying some very nasty things about that buffalo. He was saying things like, oh, it will never be the dominant bull because it's only got one horn. Can you believe it? I don't even know if it's a bull or a cow. Just, it's quite young and it's also sitting down, so it's difficult to say. I, of course, reprimanded Craig and I said, don't be silly. He could have a great personality or maybe a voice. Perhaps it'll be the speaking buffalo. Make the decisions. Well, if it was a cow, it would definitely would, because typically the pathfinders, the girls who lead up in front of the herd as they march across the plains, they're the ones that make the decisions, and the boys are normally there for protection and, of course, passing on their wonderful genetics, which they do so well. There are a couple of youngsters in this herd, but they're just sitting down for the moment. They need a bit of a rest. It is hot, like I said. They don't actually look like they've been for any wallows, which is unusual. Hey, girls? Well, we typically see the boys are the ones that are always wallowing in the mud. The boys that have left the herd, that can't keep up. Perhaps they're too old, injured. A number of different reasons as to why they can leave the herd. But that little one has still got a couple of years to go before it even needs to worry. Craig, can you see the wattled starlings? There's one cow, quite a big girl. There we go. There's a bird I haven't seen for a while. It's quite beautiful, actually. Now, there's an abundance of bird species around here, but this one definitely caught my attention. It's called very different to the that drilling sound that you normally hear from the oxpeckers. I'm sure you've heard it as I've been chatting away. They're definitely around. And that's a male, and he's got his breeding plumage on, which is quite cool, because they look quite bland. And I'm sorry to say this to you wattled starlings, but without your lovely yellow and black wattles, you're not very much. There are a couple you can see just at the feet of that buffalo as well, moving around on the grass. So that's typically where they sit. I think that's one. Was it a flower? No, that might be a flower. I did see a few more. There's those tissue paper flowers that are all covering this area. There were a couple that were following the buffalo, which is normally how you see them. Kind of like what the starlings do, following after the cattle egrets. They all follow the big mammals and then occasionally just rest up on them. Lots of oxpeckers. I don't know which oxpeckers we've got. I think most of them were yellow-billed, but of course they've all disappeared now. You can hear them. Them and the wattled starling, they're making a lot of noise. Have you found one, Craig? I'm looking for an oxpecker now. Can you believe it? Here. It's gone. Just flew to the other side. There's a couple here. You can hear them quite close to us. Have you got one? Craig says this. There we go. Yep. And kindly showing us that it's also the yellow-billed. Can you hear them? Can you hear that call? Pretty cool. So I'm going to play the red-billed oxpecker call for you. That's what I'm doing on my mobile device now. And I want you to hear the difference. So the one that you're about to hear is me. You hear that? It's a lot more harsh than the yellow-billed. And there are a couple of red-bills. I can hear them. And it's not uncommon to see both bird species moving around the herds of buffalo. I mean, essentially, the yellow-billed, they love to go for those big engorged ticks, those really, really big ones. And then with the red-bills, they prefer the finer stuff, like the tick larvae and maybe some of the smaller mites and other creatures that will be living on the buffalo. But that's the yellow-billed. They're beautiful. See, they don't have that yellow eye ring like the red-billed oxpecker has. Bye. Flying off to the next one. Amazing that comparison of their dark wings and that very light body. You don't normally see that when they're just perched up on the buffalo, but as soon as they fly, you show it quite nicely. That's a good spot here. Everybody's actually sitting down now. So this is quite cool. I mean, like we said, we just actually looked at the time. So it's a little bit later. So it's just before 4. Well, a little bit before 4 in the afternoon. I don't know if they're having a siesta now, and just before sunset they're going to go off and have something to drink. I mean, that's typically what the buffalo like to do down on the Sabi sand, is after breakfast in the morning, they'll come down if it's a hot day, maybe have a little plunge, and then normally just as the sun sets too, they go down for a second drink. And it is essential that buffalo drink water all the time. But out here at the moment, there's no shortage of water. Those luggers are all filled, and I'm sure there'll be a couple of little marshy sections within these big grasslands. Now, Dale, you're wondering if we ever see buffalo being taken by crocodiles as they drink. I personally haven't. However, there's a very famous video, some of you may know it, happened in the Kruger National Park years and years ago, where there was a fight between a buffalo calf, a crocodile, and a pride of lions. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I think you should go and find it. It's called the Battle of Kruger. It's an exceptional sighting. It's kind of what all guides dream of seeing in terms of animal interactions, different apex, and the apex predator, and then the biggest cat in Africa, fighting over one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. So it's quite a cool video to actually go and watch, and it's a nice happy ending to it as well. So you will be chuffed with that. It's a feel-good video, so I'm sure someone will share it. I haven't seen it, however. And the other day we had a cool sighting. Just before I went on leave, we were down at Cul-de-sac Crossing, and we had a herd of buffalo come down to drink. And I was hoping that they were going to cross. They didn't cross the Mara River. They stopped, they sort of stood in the mud. Some of them were a bit hesitant, and there were some monster crocs of, 3 to 4 meters laying out on the banks. But they didn't seem too bothered. It was also quite chilly, so I don't know if they were going to be in a race to go move, to go catch a buffalo. But they would. I definitely think if the opportunity was around and the buffalo were just at the wrong place at the wrong time, and perhaps there was a young calf, I'm sure they would quite happily go for a buffalo. No problem. Remember, crocodiles don't discriminate. They'll try and catch things that are 10 times their size. Look at all the crocs that try and latch onto elephants' tails and trunks. I mean, sometimes you think to yourself, what on earth were they thinking? So they'll give it a bash. I think crocodiles are very optimistic. But you won't know unless you try, will you? So I suppose there's a couple of lessons that we can learn in life from these animals. Anyways, right, I think we shall move on from our buffalo and hopefully find maybe a lion or a cheetah. Who knows what we'll see on these open plains. And Ralph, however, is still on the other side of the river. Faith is not using the right radio. and Ralph has got some antelope.
Yes, on the other side of the river we are, and we're very close to the river actually, just looking towards the riverine forested, vegetated area. Lots of big trees, and this is where we found this beautiful herd of impala with one lucky male there in the middle. And I just want to chat a little bit about their survival strategies, because impala are extremely successful, and we've spoken about a few of the reasons because of that bombshelling and that metatarsal gland, which is at the back of their feet there. You can see that black dot at the bottom of their legs, right down near to the toes. But something else that we need to think of is, you can see here with the dynamics of this group, it's all females. There's probably some young males amongst them, and then only one male, adult male with very big horns, and he's obviously fought for his place to have this group of females. But that is also one of the reasons why they're so successful, is because the males will spend a lot of time keeping this group of females together. And once they get a herd like this, that is pretty much all their energy is spent on, is keeping them together and also mating with them and chasing off other males. Now, the rest of the males, they're all up in bachelor herds, trying to establish dominance between each other at the same time. And so this male that is just at the top of your screen there, he is going to be spending all of his energy on this group of females, keeping those males away, and so his condition will deteriorate quite quickly. And that ensures that he doesn't actually hold on to this group of females for too long, because there will be another challenger within a little while that will come and challenge him, that is found his way to the top of the pile of the bachelor herd, and so he'll come in when this one's condition deteriorates, chase him out, and then that is ensuring a very good mixture of genes, because you have this constant cycling of males that will be challenging for dominance and for a lot of females like this. And so you have them different males mating with these females, and a very good mixture of genes. And there we can see that female there looking like she is quite pregnant. Dale, thanks for your comment and sending it through that you love the color of these impala. Well, it's also quite special as well, because you can see from the top to the bottom we're going from a very dark sort of color right down to the belly, which is white. Now, this serves quite a number of functions as well, because there is a lot of predator-prey interaction, and I would say that the dominant predator over the years, and that includes up to thousands of years, is probably the leopard, which is the dominant predator over impala. And they may spend a lot of time trying to single out impala, using potentially trees as a point from which they would launch their attack. And if you look at that coloration of the impala, it's called counter shading, where from the bottom it's very light up until the top, which is very dark. So if you had to look at them from the top, they would blend in with the ground quite easily. And this is very well exhibited in fish and in their eggs, as well as frogs, because when they leave their eggs in the water, they also countershade them, dark at the top, light at the bottom. So when viewed from the top, it blends in with the bottom of the water, and when viewed from underneath, it blends in with the view up into the lighter sky. But obviously, there's not much going to be, or predator-wise, viewing the impala from underneath. So I believe that that white stomach, very similar to that of springbok, oryx, ground squirrels, and even ostrich, that it's very useful in reflecting heat back off the ground, because impala are mostly found in quite hot areas and conditions, so they also do need to thermoregulate, and a lot of heat coming off the ground, so a white belly assists in reflecting that back. Now, it's also important to think that you don't want to be too white. Now, Philip, you're wondering, and you've asked, are males only dominant for one season? Well, Philip, they're not even dominant for that long. They can be dominant for as little as 1 week, because in that time, as I've said, they spend all their energy on concentrating on these females, keeping them in a group, as well as keeping other males away. So they are spending a lot of energy on this, and their condition deteriorates quite fast. So you might have one male that is dominant over a group. He loses condition within a week. He gets chased out by the next up-and-coming male, and then he rejoins the bachelor herd, regains condition, and in a week or two he may be finding himself dominant again, and then he can rejoin the group. So you may have the same male coming into a group of females like this. Well, they actually sort of move through different males' areas, but a dominant male could be dominant over a particular group of females numerous times during the season, but he also drops back in the hierarchy as his condition deteriorates. So one of the reasons why they are so successful, and there are a lot of impala around Africa, and that is really one of their real success stories, and one of the reasons why there are so many of them as well. There's a number of other reasons, but we'll keep it to that for now. Now, First Lady Shah, you're wondering why don't KUDU and NYALA occur here in the Mara? Well, traditionally, I do know that KUDU should occur here, but I think it's because of the real retraction of this thickets and bushy areas as a result of burning from the Maasai people, as well as elephant damage. So we're looking at this thickety area here. A couple of 100 years ago, this area here would have dominated this whole Mara plains, but it has receded as a result of the burning and elephant movements. So I think that the NYALA and KUDU have also receded in their populations because of their habitat literally starting to disappear. And remember, NYALA and bushbuck also very competitive with each other, and so much so that in real natural areas you generally don't find a lot of NYALA where there is a lot of bushbuck and vice versa. It's normally one of the two that finds itself being dominant, and then you find either bushbuck or NYALA. It's quite special to find a large population of both in the same area because of the competition that they have for exactly the same habitat. So you do have herbivores, and it is extremely interesting with those kind of competition dynamics between herbivores, because it's not only the predators. Yes, obviously the predators will it's a lot more aggressive, and with the antelope, it's not as aggressive as that, and they don't kill each other quite as easily, but they do push each other off into different zones where they don't do so well, and so obviously eventually their numbers dwindle too. So very interesting, and very interesting on the real success story of the impala. Now, speaking of predators, I think we're going to continue a little bit and see if we can find some. Now, CNAC, you want to know, and thanks once again for your question, CNAC. We always appreciate it. You want to know how many females could one male impregnate? Well, it's all down to how long he can keep himself in top condition. But he could probably do anything up to about, up to 100 or so. But it's not always that just because he's covered the female that it is going to be successful. So I think in the studies there's been upwards of 50 females being impregnated by one male, but it's quite difficult to know which exact male has impregnated them, because they might get covered by a few different males within a very short space of time. So it would need to be DNA testing and so on for them to work out the exact male, and so quite difficult to do in natural populations. But CNAC, I would say anything up to about 50 from one particular male. Very interesting, very interesting. And they're pretty much like sardines in the ocean, very successful as well. And for instance, like the red-billed quailias, which is now the most numerous bird on the planet. It used to be the passenger pigeon. Now, I don't know if any of you know about the passenger pigeon, but that was the most numerous in terms of number or population of birds on the entire planet. And the humans have literally destroyed the entire population of passenger pigeons. They ate most of them, and they are now extinct. So that is one of the effects of humans getting into natural wildlife and populations, etc. Taking a bird which was the most numerous on the planet, and it is now extinct as a direct result of humans. So that's a very sad story. But number two now being the red-billed quailia. And if you've ever seen flocks of red-billed quailia, it is absolutely amazing how they move like sardines in the air. And we call this allilomimetic behavior, when one moves and they all flock together like that, like sardines do in the sea. Allilomimetic or copycat behavior. It's just following the lead of one or many, but one goes in a particular way and they all move in that direction. There's a new term for you, allilomimetic, meaning copycat behavior. Okay everyone, so I'm going to just meander on this little route and see if we can see any black rhino, possibly leopard, and hopefully some lions. But while we do that, let's send you on back to Taylor on the other side of the river and see how her and Craig are getting on.
Can you hear what's going on? I can just hear the radio beeping. Beep, 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 beep. I'm climbing to the top of a hill. Okay. Can you copy what's going on? Me neither.
Sorry about that, everybody. You know, sometimes on the other side of the river it can be a little bit patchy for signal. So nonetheless, not a problem. We're still driving around here in the Mara Triangle and we've got fantastic signal. So you can stick with us and we'll see what we can find. You know, what has been quite amazing is that over this rainy period, all of a sudden we're having all these mushrooms popping up everywhere. And I don't know too much about mushrooms and fungus, but it is absolutely fascinating because you see all of these mushrooms around. What I do know about mushrooms and fungus is that for them to germinate, it needs absolute perfect conditions for them to do so. So a lot of these mushrooms are actually... Oh, there's a hyena. Hello. Now, while I'm talking about mushrooms, we find a hyena that's just sleeping next to the road. But these mushrooms need very perfect conditions for them to germinate. And a lot of them actually coming up out of elephant dung, rhino dung, etc. So the spores must have been either picked up with their trunk, put into the back of their throat, and it's passed right through them. And then it's sitting in this perfect dung environment with lots of organic material and water and possibly dark on the inside of that. And then it germinates. It's really fascinating about fungus, and I'm going to spend some time in the future now really reading up on fungus and the different mushrooms that we find in the Mara, as well as in Djuma, because I'd like to get some more information there, and then we can stop and chat about it. But let's get back to our content here that we're looking at. A lovely hyena with those satellite dish ears, always alert, aren't they? Even when they're probably sleeping, those ears are constantly on the hear out for anything that's coming along. Now, I wonder which clan this hyena is from, because they can cover such large distances that sometimes you can find them even up to 100 kilometers away from their den site. And so I wonder where you're from. There seems to be a den somewhere down near to the Mara River in the Chitwa Temba area, and maybe that's where this one is from, but it could even be from the northern clan, who knows? That's why it's so difficult to actually know where hyena originate from. Now, Sinak, once again, thanks for your comment, saying what a beautiful hyena. Well, I totally agree with you, Sinak. There might be lots that disagree, but this is still one of my most favorite animals out here and anywhere in the bush, because they are so adaptable and, well, they sort of swim upstream in everything that they do and the way that they are. They're just totally different, aren't they? And so that's why I like them, because they're really the oddball of the bush. And there's lots of folklore surrounding them, and obviously lots of evil or dark spirits associated with hyena, because they are the sort of cleaners and very often thought to have just been eating rotten meat and all that kind of stuff. So the old folklore, myths and legends is all associated with witchcraft, and hyenas sort of associated with the sangomas, or, as I say, the witches of the bush. But I don't think they're evil at all. I think they're absolutely amazing creatures. And it goes without saying, I'll keep on mentioning it, but you never see an injured or a sick or an elderly hyena. I think it's really a sign that they don't tolerate any kind of weakness, and I think if any of that is shown, they probably just get eaten by another hyena. So it's really fascinating. Now, Maria from Brazil, thanks for your question. Are female hyenas normally alone? That's what makes hyenas so special, Maria, is that they go out on their own, they hunt on their own. It's only when they come across something really interesting, or that there is some meat available and that kind of stuff, that they start calling, and then they all group together. But the hunting tactic of hyena is to really split up, and then once they find something, then they call the others, and then they would join forces to try and tackle whatever it is, whether it's lions or a leopard or some prey. But there is a real political hierarchical system with hyenas, and they're born into that sort of royal line. So it's not a democracy at all. It's a real straight hierarchical system that they're born into. So I'm going to slowly squeeze past this hyena so that I don't disturb her too much. I think it is a female because of her size. But while I do that, let's send you on back over to Taylor with some beautiful birds.
We have beautiful birds, a beautiful view, a beautiful day. I don't know what else we can check off that's beautiful. Everything out here is so stunning. Where we have a pair of crowned cranes with no chicks. I don't even see a nest. They don't really look like they're nesting at the moment, do they? They look like they're more worried about trying to catch something to eat. And it looks like it has seen something, in fact. Looking for little frogs, little fish. I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of frogs in there. Lots of those mascarene grass frogs that we saw the other day. That was all attacked, violently attacked by a water scorpion. Imagine the stories that frog is going to go off and tell its children one day, or perhaps its friend. But they're hunting. They're on the move. And that's not all that's here. There's also a hammerkop. You can just see it. Just sitting down on the ground, preening itself at the moment. Taking a break from fishing. It's a nice little spot that they've got here, in fact. I'm surprised we aren't seeing any white-faced whistling ducks, or perhaps a couple of teals. I did see some red-billed teals driving around this morning. It was a nice surprise. Haven't seen them for a while. And then Craig's comment about the hammerkop was, I wonder how Mr. and Mrs. Hammerhead, those are his exact words, are. So that's something we'll have to do tomorrow, as well as pop past and see how the hammerkop nest is doing. I believe Jamie has had all sorts of interesting sightings with Egyptian geese trying to chase the hammerkop out of their nests and try and claim it for its own. A bit rude, a bit lazy. Typical of the Egyptian geese, though, not surprised. And then we also had a sparrowlark. Hang on, I'm going to reposition the car because I can see it. At first I saw it and I had absolutely no idea what it was. And I'd known I'd seen the bird before. It's just off on the road. And you'd all help me identify it. I'm pretty sure it is the Fisher's sparrowlark. It's a very pretty little bird. Hey? It's quite striking with that sort of rufous cap. And then the little white cheeks. Black down its throat, black down around its eye, very pale legs and beak too. And it's not a big bird, it's quite small. There's an ant. I don't know if you can see the ant just crawling. Let's see if it's going to go for it. It was chasing after flying insects, so I don't know if they prefer flying insects versus ants. Let me see if it says anything about that. About their feeding habits. No, not in this book. It doesn't have too much. That's quite cool though. It's nice to see. Especially now that I'm able to identify it, it's quite impressive, because I don't think I've seen it again since the last time, or since the first time I saw it. Wendy, you said, what a busybody. Yeah, it is. It is moving. Oh, hang on, wait, are you talking about me being a busybody? But it is. It's on the move. And it's so important that these birds constantly keep looking for things to eat. They are not catching massive insects. There we go. Look how quick it is. Nimble little bird. Oh, Craig, that'll give you a bit of a headache, eh? Make you a little bit dizzy with the way that it flutters around like that. So, I suppose every step that it takes, every time it leaps up and flies around, it better make sure that it counts. And I'm sure they're more unsuccessful than they are successful when it comes to catching insects. And when we watched that blind-neck-breasted roller eat that massive grasshopper, which was a delicious meal, but what that Fisher's sparrowlark is going after doesn't seem to be too much. Maybe an odd little butterfly here and there. But we'll see what else we can find around. Maybe some more birds join the rest at the pool party. Ralph is on a roll. He's got the first cat of the afternoon.
And what a beautiful cat she is, everyone. We've literally driven 10 meters past the hyena, and look who we found. It looks like the same female that we had the other day that was chasing that warthog unsuccessfully. If anybody was watching and remembers that, for those that don't, she chased a very big boar warthog unsuccessfully, but it was a full chase. And she got very close, but it seemed like she didn't get out of third gear. Almost like there wasn't just quite enough motivation. But she's now panting quite a lot. I wonder if she has killed something and there's some food around. That would explain why this hyena is hanging around. Quite sinister-like. But it will be wait to be seen. We'll sit here. You see, she's looking over towards the hyena. Unfortunately, the hyena is just behind us. And because I wanted to put my nose in here, that we could get a nice view of this lioness. Because from the other side, we're blocked by the grass. Now, Tom, you're wondering if it's normal for lions or female lions to be alone. Tom, yes and no. Normally they would move with the pride, but especially when they have little cubs, and hunt on their own a little bit, especially if there's just the odd warthog being caught by the pride, then sometimes the odd female can just go off on her own and try and get her own little snack without having to share it with the rest. But it's generally around when they have their own little cubs that they do separate themselves a little bit. But very often you can see a female lion like this, and there might be some other lionesses just nearby. So she might be disappearing off and she's chasing a hyena, everyone. That's what the problem is here. There we go. There must be some food here, I'm sure of it. She must have a kill. And I'm sure these hyenas are now trying to take advantage of her meat that she's got hidden here somewhere. I will go around the corner, but now she's outnumbered. There's a couple of hyenas and only one lioness. So I'm just going to relocate everyone just around the corner because I don't want to lose sight of this lion. So I'm just going around the corner, but that was wonderful to watch. She just really got rid of that hyena that had got obviously too close to her and potentially some of her food. But let's go around here and just stick our noses in and see why these hyenas are hanging around. Has she got some food here? Oh, there she is. No, it doesn't look like it. If she did, well, maybe she's eaten her fill and now she's leaving these hyenas to the food. But I didn't see the hyenas going back in there. Maybe they're just following her in hope that she's going to make a kill. She doesn't look like she's got a massive belly. She could have eaten a small warthog. Maybe there's some bones lying there or something like that. But I think we'll stick with the lion as opposed to the hyenas. We'll always come back maybe and have a look in the thickets there and just see if she possibly left some bones or the remnants of a warthog or something like that. But otherwise I think let's just go on a little drive. There, she's going to have a drink. Let's watch her. She didn't seem to like that water too much. Maybe it's too muddy. Maybe she'll have a drink there. She's obviously after a drink. She's been panting a lot. Beautiful. And if you watch a lion walking, you see how they flick their feet to the side. Okay, as I say that, she stops. Still looking for a nice spot to drink. But you can see how they flick their feet to the side. And when we look at their tracks, we often notice that there's this little flicks to the side as they pick their feet up. Just try and go forward a little bit, everybody, just so that we can maybe see her a bit better drinking there. She's sort here a little bit closer. There we go. Okay, it's not perfect because her head's right down in the hole. Muscles in the front quarter. It always amazes me how powerful lions are. Now, Maria, thanks for your... They are fascinating as well. Very different to hyenas, but it seems we've started on a wonderful predator sunset safari, getting hyenas and now this lion and interaction between them as well. Always nice to see that. She's obviously quite thirsty. She's going for a full drink. She's out in the sun, which is always a good indication that she's either going to move somewhere or she could potentially even hunt. So you always follow lions that are out in the sun, because there can always be some action that ensues. Thanks, Linda, for your comment. Wow, absolutely. Now let's keep a close eye on her, because the way she's walking is almost like she's thinking about going for a little hunt. But that belly of hers does look like there might be some food in it. It's not overly bloated. Maybe she's had a little piglet or something like that. But she looks like she might be interested in going on a little hunting expedition, the way she's looking around. So this might be a nice little following that we get here. I am going to keep my eyes very closely on her, and we won't let her get out of our sight. She is now, however, crossing towards the thickets there in the background, but I think there is a road that goes there. Always nice to watch them walking away or towards you. Such elegance and power. And then they start to disappear off into the grass as their coloration just allows them to be so camouflaged. So we'll let her walk off a little bit and then we'll circle around. Now, Linda, you want to know how many lion kills are lost to hyena? Not too many, I would say. It's generally... if there's the same amount of hyenas as there are lions, and I'm talking mostly female lions, well, the lionesses would be able to keep the hyenas at bay. But as soon as there's sort of 2 or 3 more hyena than there are lions, then they can potentially push them off a kill. But as soon as there's a male lion around, yeah, he comes in and it's like Skittles with the hyenas. So he can take 10 to 15 on his own. So the scores really change when there's a male lion around. But the females are a little bit wary of hyenas, especially once they start to gather in a group. But 1 or 2 or 3 for this one female lioness wouldn't be too much of a problem. But around food is when it really gets interesting, because it depends on how hungry both the lions and the hyenas are. If the hyenas are very hungry, they can get very bold and they can take chances with the lions and sometimes come off the winner. So don't write the hyenas off. She does now from this angle look like she's got quite a full belly. I'm still wondering if there's not some meat or bones off there in the forest. But let's see here. Let's see. If she was really hungry, I think this warthog would be in trouble. But let's just watch her. Let's see. That warthog is showing her his bottom. And I'm just wondering, we are now quite far, but she's just waltzing over. I'm not sure she's actually keen on going for this kill. But it's waiting to be seen. I'm sure she would have been stalking by now. But nothing's impossible. She is going down a little bit. She would have to go for it quite soon. I think she's walking off too relaxed for her to be stalking. Let's just see if she changes direction now as that warthog walks away. She's making a little bit of stalking. There, she's stopped. Maybe not. It doesn't look like she's that motivated. She's now, however, turning into the wind. She is making out as if she might. Is she going to? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not convinced. I don't think she's hungry enough, but she is focusing. They're always optimistic, and they might take a chance. And I think that warthog might have clocked it. Yes, there he goes. Pumbaa lives another day. Off he goes. He must have clocked her. He must have spotted her or smelt her. She would have had him if she was more motivated, and I'm sure she's eaten now just recently, and that's why that little piggy is a very lucky chap. I'm sure he's prancing around now like, yep, I got away from a lion again. And his tail straight up, his little aerial. Well done, old chap. You got away from the lion again. But I think you are very lucky. A little bit more hungry. I don't think she's in a hunt of shade, because I think there where, and that's, you see, so that's where it might, it's really a good indication that lions do hold some respect for hyenas, and there were two there, so she potentially decided to leave the area because of that. Now this warthog is really flaunting himself in front of this female, and catch me if you can. She's just let him go off there. That's really interesting that she didn't even bother. I think it must be that she's eaten. She has stopped now, watching again. Now, Wendy, you're saying that this lion looks really intent on something. Wendy, I think she's really intent on either, I wasn't quite sure if she was lactating or not. She might have some cubs, so I think she might be intent on getting somewhere, whether that's returning to her cubs or to the pride or to just find some shade, because I don't think that she's really in the mood for hunting. I could be wrong, but with that warthog being so close, and really she had a very good chance with it not knowing that she was there, she would have had it. So I'm not convinced that she's actually in a hunting mood. So in a minute now, she's really quite far from us. I might try and relocate and just get a little bit closer to her. I'm not sure if there's a road that goes on that side of the thicket though. So let's just watch her a little bit from here, and we'll see if she goes and rests up in the shade or if she continues on the other side. Let's just see what she does for a minute. Ah, there, she's changed direction now. She's spotted some other warthogs there. Look at that. I wonder. Now, Scarlett, do you want to know what is hyena's bite force? Well, it's pretty much comparable to that of a lion. So pretty much the same force as a lion, but they're a smaller animal. So it's, in terms of their size, the ratio is that their bite force is much higher than a lion with regards to their body. But it's pretty much exactly the same. So it's quite impressive that hyena are a little bit less than half the weight of a lion, but they can bite pretty much the same. So that's where lions do need to be careful, because if a hyena gets hold of them, they can bite them pretty much the same as potentially a male lion might. So I think we're just going to try and relocate and see if we can get a bit closer. And if we can't, we might return and see if those hyenas are feeding on something that she may have killed. Let's go and have a look. If we can re-find her. She's really just jogging around, not really motivated to go for those warthogs, as I say, because I know what a lion looks like when they're really hungry, when they're really intent on hunting, and she doesn't look like either. Because she's had numerous chances there. There's been a few warthogs that have been very close to her, and she's really done a half, not even a half-hearted, a quarter, if not a fifth-hearted attempt at going for them. It's almost like, you know, when you pull a little piece of string for a kitty cat, no matter how much they've eaten or whatever, they're still going to jump on it and grab it. So it's very instinctive of her to see warthogs running very close to her, to almost not chase it is very much against her instincts. So she's doing that, but I don't think she's hungry. Okay, I'm going to go in here and try and see if I can get closer to this lion, see if we can find her again. If we don't, we're going to go back to those hyenas and see if there's any meat around. But while I'm doing that, it seems Taylor's got some signal back. Let's go on over to her and see how she's doing.
The gremlins are being real nasty to us, right? Craig is standing up on his chair because he's got a point to prove. He made me stop and turn the vehicle around. We've done a big circle because he said he saw it. He said to me, "Did you see the tortoise next to the little shrub next to the side of the road?" As if to say you're a bad spotter. Craig, where's the tortoise? Did it run away? It was too quick. It made Usain Bolt look like he runs slowly. Craig, I don't know where the tortoise is. There's a chance though that the tortoise did move away. They are quick, especially if it was a little leopard tortoise, which Craig also said he thought it was. I'm checking for it now though. I don't know where it is. Tusk, tusk, tusk. Right, we're probably going to get stuck on some of these roads. I don't know where we're going yet. I also don't know if we're going to be able to go through any of these crossings. I doubt it because it's actually very wet. I'm probably going to have to turn around. No! Turn around and go and look for that tortoise again. Oh my goodness, Craigie, like he was sitting there. I haven't got mud flaps on my car yet, so it's quite funny going through all this stuff. How it shoots up and it kind of just covers you. Well, you've seen what I've looked like after being sprayed with mud. So we're either looking for some lions or we're looking for cheetah. We're in very good area. I don't know about the gremlins though. This is normally a great spot to come driving around because you see lots of elephants and buffalo, some topi and zebra and all sorts of wonderful things. Not today though. Of course not today. I don't know where we're gonna go. Monique said that was the fastest tortie ever. Oh, it's just so funny though. Craig, are you sure it was a tortoise? Hey, you're starting to imagine animals on Game Drive now. Because I've learned my lesson. I normally don't call anything out until I know for sure. There's amount of times, and you've all been witnesses of me going, pride lions, which is logs, or termite mounds. It's too high. I do it too often, so I just sit quietly. We're going to get stuck. These roads are terrible. Let's have a look. Sorry. Herd of elephants in my I think the gremlins will get us. Let me go a little bit further forward and then we do this and then we get stuck. Sorry, it's not the greatest view, but it's some animals at least. They've blended in very well with the bushes this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and say that these are 3 males. I can't see them very well. All right, let's go across to Ralph, who's got a lion.
Okay, everyone, we're still not sure that she's 100% committed, but she's getting very close to this warthog, which is now almost ignoring her presence. Now, I know we're going straight into the sun, but she is literally about 10 meters away from this warthog, and she's not even stalking. She's just looking at it. It's really confusing because... And she's laid down, like she's going for a sleep. I wonder if this is a really unlikely couple where the warthog has now seduced this lion into believing that it is not worth eating and just hanging around. Because both of them now are just lying down in literally within 10 meters of each other. So I'm just going to reposition slightly that we can just see what's going on there. But she has just laid down like she's going to go to sleep. Not even that she's stalking that pig. The warthog is totally relaxed. Let's just have a look from this angle. Go for it. Very recently. Surprising, hey? She's still panting quite heavily. I wonder if she's had a chase already and she might be quite exhausted. That might explain things. But still intrigues me why she didn't have a go at it when she was literally within 10 meters of it. But panting heavily. So now, Alan, you want to know how old is this lioness? Alan, she could be anything. I would say she's probably around 8 or 10 years old. That's what she looks like to me. She's got reasonably tatty ears. She looks like she's had a couple of sets of cubs in her life. And you can just see by the sort of little bit of faint or fading of her coat that she isn't a sort of female and that's a young adult. She looks like she's in her prime. And so I would guesstimate it at about that age, about 8 or 10 years of age. She looks quite experienced, although I don't know why she's really reluctant to hunt any of these little pigs, because she's been close now on a couple of occasions, but she just doesn't look motivated at all. Whether that's because she's already missed a couple of times in the heat of the day this afternoon, or whether she's already had a little piglet, and so she just doesn't look totally committed. And this warthog seems to be flaunting it in her face, because he comes towards her and then he walks away. It's almost like he wants to be eaten. Yeah. Matto, thanks for your comment. Maybe the warthog has hired the lion as a bodyguard for the day. Well, it certainly looks like that, because this lion is almost non-interested in catching this warthog, because for me, it had a death sentence, coming, almost walking up to the lion. And I've seen that happen with warthogs before, but they died almost immediately. But this one, I hope he doesn't get into... Well, the habit won't last very long, if that does become a habit, because I think the second lion he does this to is going to become a meal for it. And there, she's now relaxed a little bit. So my gut feeling was right, in that she's not totally motivated to hunt. And I normally get it right. It's just, I can't explain it. It's just a look that the lions get, and you can see when they, it's almost like they've locked on, and when you see that look in a lion that it's going, long before they actually go, for me, I know when they're going to do it. And this time it was apparent that she's not that keen. Still panting quite heavily. So, pretty much a non-event with our lion hunt, but we did quite expect it a little bit, but exciting nonetheless, and we're going to sit here and see what happens. But in the meantime, let's head you on over to Taylor, who's got one of those lovely shielded reptiles.
Finally, we managed to find the tortoise. It's not the same one though. We've driven a little bit further down. So Craig, I do believe you that there was a tortoise. I just don't know what happened to it. Perhaps it fell into a sinkhole. Now, I'm not surprised also that we are seeing a lot of tortoises out today. It was quite chilly. It has been quite chilly, in fact, the last few days. And now it has warmed up so nicely, especially after a serious downpour. I'm sure this tortoise wanted to come out to dry his shell, or her shell. I can't tell from here. It's a bit difficult to tell whether they're male or female. But you can have a quick little look underneath their shell. If it's concave, it's a boy. If it's not concave, it's a girl. I would imagine. I don't know. I can't even guess. But it's a leopard tortoise, which is quite cool. I haven't seen a leopard tortoise for a while. On the last one I saw, it was quite a sad story. It was washing down the Talek River after some serious rain, and I didn't know if it was alive or not. Tortoises can actually swim. Not all of them, but the leopard tortoises can. They can stay afloat, and they'll just use their legs to pedal along, and off they can go. It's quite unique, so it's not uncommon to see tortoises. I think it's by going into that little marshy area. Sorry everybody, I believe I disappeared there for a second, just kind of like that tortoise did. I think it's trying to get away from us, so we won't bother it anymore. Sometimes even tortoises are a little bit nervous. I don't blame them for not wanting to trust me, so we'll let it carry on. But it was quite nice to see, even though it was a quick sighting. People must think we're silly when we say, oh, we just had a quick glimpse of a tortoise. Doesn't sound like those two things should go together, does it? Oh no, Craig, this is not great. And we get out of here. Yes. Right, so we had some guinea fowl alarming. That's not really a road anymore, is it? And we're going to just check this tree line and then go all the way around to where the guinea fowl were alarming. I'm not sure what's there. I've heard tales of leopards living around here. I have not seen a leopard around here yet, but I know we're edging closer and closer to a pride of lions. Live a little bit further that way. Let me try to say their name. Olo Misiongiyoi, something like that. There's this big pride of lions. I've seen them a few times, and then I've just never been back. Buffalo, slide in. Just out grazing again. I'm hoping we could get a leopard. Now, I'm just going to do a quick scan. Craig, you also look like you want to do a scan. You're welcome to. I just thought I saw something under a tree, but it's not. It's another tree. So there the buffalo, there the tree line, there's the everything else. No more alarming guinea fowl. That's a problem. And just check all the tall trees that have got nice horizontal branches that leopards could lay on. That would be a goodie. Now this is my next concern. I may have come down here for nothing, because we could get to the point where none of these crossings are actually crossable, and I don't think we can risk diving down into one and getting stuck, especially not this late in the afternoon. That won't be too much fun. Okay, so I always want to go down there. Oh, here, guinea fowl. Let's see. Were you the ones that were alarming? There's two of them. They look very relaxed. And it actually sounded like there were more than two guinea fowl that were alarming earlier. So I think it's a different group. Perhaps we need to go a little bit further south. These ones are very busy. eating grass seeds, as you can see. Quite interesting how they do that. Their eyesight must also be pretty good to be able to see all the little grass seeds and make sure that your beak connects with the right one. I think I'd be missing the whole time. Right, Craig, I don't know, we can't go down there. I've never been able to cross there. Now I have to try and remember where I normally cross. It's a bit further up. Okay, we'll go and do that then. What we shall do is we'll have to go back that way past the buffalo. Okay, well, while we do this thing of racing around trying to find a suitable crossing, Rolf is still with his lioness. Let's see if she's realized that that bacon is sizzling in the pan next to her.
Thanks, Taylor. And yes, this is still continuing, this warthog playing chicken with this lion. It's now walking towards the lion. It has got a little bit more distance in between them than it had before, but he's really taking a chance here. I think there might be a little burrow there in front of him. I wonder if he's thinking about going down it. No. Oh well, and the female, she sort of watches him every now and then. Now, CNAC, you want to know if warthogs will use underground tunnels to escape predators. CNAC, they can go down into an aardvark burrow, which is what they use normally to overnight in, and they go bum first into the hole, and then they can use their tusks as a bit of a defense mechanism in the front. But if the lions are hungry enough, not particularly like this female, because she's letting this warthog get away with murder, but I've seen the pride of lions literally dig out an entire family of warthogs. So they'll start digging at the hole, and eventually the warthogs try to make an escape, but then obviously meet a very sorry end, with the lions waiting at the entrance as they all try to run out, and so they take them out quite easily. But at the moment, this female is really confusing me. She's not really doing much, and she's still panting quite heavily, so I'm still sure that she might have already had a chase or a feed. So I think in a little while I'm going to leave her alone, because I don't think she's going to be hunting anytime soon, and I do want to go back and investigate a little bit there where those hyenas were, and see if my suspicions are confirmed that maybe there's a little bit of food there in the thicket. If not, well, we can return then and come and see if she's still here, and then we can continue to follow her. But she's now relaxing in the shade. I don't think she's going to be going anywhere quite yet, but at least she's in the short grass, so we'll be able to find her quite easily. And with that warthog flaunting himself in front of her without her reacting, I don't think she's going to be going for a kill anytime soon. So, I don't think we're going to be missing anything. But let's make our way back towards the hyena. Now, Uncle, then you want to know how lions can go, or how long lions can go without eating. Uncle, then it definitely depends on how much they feed on when they make a kill. So if for instance, if she had to kill this warthog on her own, she'd have herself quite a big meal there, because that was quite a big warthog. And then she could go anything from 3 days to a week without eating. That would sustain her for that period of time. And that extends on over to a pride of lions. If they kill a buffalo, or they kill a giraffe, or something big like that, or an eland, then they feed on that for 2 or 3 days, and they can then not feed for even 5-7 days. So it all depends on how much they feed, and they can literally gorge themselves. So they almost have expandable stomachs that enables them to really eat a lot, and then obviously living off that animal protein for quite a while. But remember, they do have quite a high metabolism, so it does burn off quite quickly and passes through as well. Normally, after a lion is fed, it's very easy to tell. They have, and sorry for saying this, but I've been driving behind lions many times that have just fed on all sorts of different carcasses, and their wind or their what comes out the backside, the gas is extremely smelly. You can smell it a mile away, and the first poo that they have is very runny, it's very black, and it's as a result of all the blood and the meat that they've been eating, and that stinks as well. And then slowly you can start to see from the scat how long ago that lions have eaten, because it will go from a runny slop to a reasonably runny sort of diarrhea, but a little bit harder the next bowel movement, and then it slowly goes onto quite a hard scat, and then eventually it's actually a lot of hair and bones and things that comes through at the end. So you can see that whole progression and evolution. If you are on foot, and you could have a look at this scat, which I've done many times, and then you can actually tell how long ago the lions have fed just from what's passing through. But I tell you what, that first one is, yeah, and I've been behind a few prides of lions after they fed, and then they start marking their territory, etc. And it's not a pleasant smell at all. Now, let's see if these hyenas are still here in this thicket. Why were they here? They must have been following their noses, I believe. Were they following their noses, or were they just hoping that lioness was going to make a kill and they could get some scraps? That's the question. Now, the one hyena went in round the back and was already in there, but they might have potentially already have had a scuffle over the meat and now have run off with it in different directions, because hyena won't necessarily share food between them as well. Now, sorry that I'm not looking at you, everybody. I'm just looking to see if I can spot the reason for three predators being in the same spot at the same time, and then having a little scuffle about it as well. So I'm just doing a little naughty here and going slightly off-road. I just want to solve the mystery. Now, Dale, you want to know, will warthogs only give as many, give birth to as many piglets as they have teats or nipples? Yeah, they generally won't give birth to more than that. And if they do, you potentially find that some of them will die. But they normally have up to about 6 piglets. And then they've got enough nipples for that. I think they've got 8 nipples. It's either 6 or 8, but they do have enough to feed at least 6. And then after 6, I haven't seen more piglets than 6, but in fact I'm not seeing anything here that would have brought these hyenas in here. But that doesn't say that there's not any little carcass in there, but I can't see anything. So, and the hyenas have also moved off. So I'm just going to now slowly make my way back towards that lion, who I hope is still lying there, and we'll see if she gets up to anything once she's caught her breath. But it's quite interesting with warthogs, because they can have up to 6. That's what I've seen. I'm sure they might be able to have slightly more than that, maybe even up to 8. But as far as I know, it's 6. And they can have that amount 2 or 3 times a year. So they also, like the impala, very successful, but because they've got a very high reproductive rate, and if left unchecked, they can really explode in population, and they're actually bulk grazers. For such a little animal, they can really overgraze an area very quickly. And there's areas in northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, and the Pongola Game Reserve in particular. It is a national park, one of the only national parks surrounding a lake in South Africa, and there they've they've got too few predators, and so the warthogs are overpopulated, and it's the only place where I've actually seen herds of warthog. Just imagine it. Here you see little groups of them, family groups, just scattered around, but I've seen an open plain where there were literally hundreds of warthog, and you can notice the difference that they make. Within 2 or 3 years you could have a nice grassy plain like this that in 2 or 3 years is turned literally to dust. So what do they have to do? Those pigs are now overpopulated, so then they need to simulate the predators, and they bring in some hunters who come and have a lovely weekend. They pay for their weekend, they also pay for the hunt, and they also assist in the conservation. Now I know lots of people don't appreciate or agree with hunting, but in that kind of situation it's actually very useful and a very good monetary input into conservation on the whole. So I'm not going to be batting the cause for hunting or not, because that would open up a totally different debate altogether. But in that particular case, there's no question that bringing in hunters with money for lovely weekends and to help assist in the predator simulation and dropping the numbers of warthogs, well, complete success story, I would say. The ultimate would be to be introducing more predators, but that can come on the cards when you've got lots of hunters bringing in lots of money, controlling the numbers of warthog. So now, Mia, you want to know if I've seen any interesting lion and hyena interaction. I have on many occasions, Mia. I've been in the bush for just a little while, and one of the most amazing that I have seen was in Namibia, where the lions there actually play second fiddle to the hyenas, and they actually scavenge off the hyenas as well. And there was one time when I was watching some hyenas, and they chased down an ostrich. All right, but we saw this from a very far distance. We saw these hyenas after this ostrich, and we had to drive very fast to catch up with them over the plains on the other side. Eventually caught up with them, and eventually there was about 10 hyenas that had been chasing this poor ostrich for probably maybe 30 or 40 kilometers, as we do just stop here and get a sight on the lion. I think she's a little bit better looking than I am. So anyway, eventually these hyenas managed to bring this ostrich down, and it was pretty much near sunset, and they started feeding on the ostrich, and out of the rocks came 2 female lionesses. Now they tried to scavenge off these hyenas, and they ran in, and immediately these 10 hyenas obviously backed off because they got a fright from these lions who charged into this ostrich. Okay, everybody, I'm going to continue my story in a little bit, but please don't go anywhere, because we're just sending you up to the mountain camp just for a minute or two, and we'll be right back.
Welcome everyone, and look at this amazing drone shot that we have of lions on quarantine. They're resting in the shade. I've always wanted to be a bird, and this is a bird's eye view of what lions would look like if you were a raptor or a vulture, any sort of bird of prey. And there's the other lioness joining. It's the three that we were looking at this morning. Now, welcome to all of our new viewers. We're here and live from you all back. I hope you enjoy, kids. Now, guys, don't forget we are live and interactive, so send through those questions to your teacher for the school drive, and then in about 45 minutes you can do hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on YouTube chat. I am Noelle, and on camera and drone we've got Seb. He's busy with his drone pad, so he's giving thumbs up in his mind. And then of course we've got the amazing live shows that are happening from the 4th of February till the 8th of February at 10 o'clock Eastern, live in the United States on Nat Geo Wild. And during those shows, we're going to be playing Safari Bingo. Super exciting. So if you would like to know the rules for Safari Bingo, go to natgeo.com/Safari Live, and you will see all the rules and regulations there. And the winner of Safari Bingo will win a trip for two to Africa to maybe come and see a bird's eye view of safari, or just a view from the vehicle. All very exciting. Now, kids from Allenton School, what would you like to know? What would you like to know about lions? What would you like to know about South Africa? What would you like to know about Kenya? Send through any sort of questions that you have. I believe you're doing science units, and science is one of the best things you could ever do in school. It's super interesting. Anything from chemistry to physics to ecology to ethnology. Oh my goodness, there's so much to do. Oh, and biology. There's so much to do in science. So, lions, guys, what do we know about lions? These three lionesses are very, very hungry. They have been hunting for most of the morning unsuccessfully. We left them several kilometers from here this morning around 8:30, and now they've managed to meander, I would say, maybe 4 Ks, maybe a little bit longer, in the overcast but warm day that it has been today, and managed to come up right near where we live, in the middle of the area we call quarantine, this big, beautiful open area. Now, the reason why they moved at this not normal time in the heat is because they're hungry, and quarantine usually has a lot of zebra and wildebeest and impala. So I have a feeling what they're going to be doing is resting in the shade, moving around a little bit like this, and hopefully coming across something to eat. Now, my wishes for today would be to get not only a view from the vehicle of them hunting, but a drone's eye view of lions hunting. I think that would be absolutely incredible. And whilst we are getting ready for a hopeful hunt in the next couple of hours, let's head on over to my friend Scott, who's also bumbling around inside of Djuma in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, and he would like to say hello.
We certainly would like to say hello, and you've come at a wonderful time. We were trying to relocate the rest of the pride, and further up this road behind me, and as we were driving up here I noticed some fresh tracks, so I slowed down, and then Senzo, who I'm teamed up with on camera today, spotted some of the pride members snoozing in the shade over here. So I can see at least 3 individuals for now. I'm sure there could be some more dotted around, and I didn't see them too well this morning, so I'm not too sure if they're as hungry as the 2 that Noelle is with, but certainly good prospects for later on this evening. It's still quite hot though, so I think unless something kind of stumbles upon these lions, they're probably not going to be too active, but who knows? Noelle's lions are up and moving, and maybe if they are hungry enough, they will head off in search of maybe not only a meal but also something to drink. Now, it's wonderful to have all the kids from Allenton Elementary with us, and you guys would like to know, how do you tell whether it is a male or a female? Well, when they're young, it can be tricky, and this one we're looking at here does look like a youngster to me. I can't be certain, but it probably is a young lioness. Basically, the differences between the lioness and the male lions is that the male lions will have a big mane once they've grown up, but even from around 2 years of age, they'll have a bit of a mohawk. So that mane will start developing from, like I say, about 2 years of age. But when they're younger than that, you just have to look under their tail, between their legs, to see what private parts they have. That's the best and safest way to be certain. Now, we've got really good prospects this afternoon. There's not just some lion on the property, there was also some leopard around this morning, a mother with a tiny young cub, and she was more successful than these lions with their hunting. She's managed to catch herself not one but 2 kills in the same place. So I'm thinking of heading off there a little bit later. Another question from the kids at Alanton. You'd like to know, how much can lions eat? Well, it can be quite a lot. And you'd like to know, what do they eat? Well, they can eat a lot of whatever they come across, and basically because they have to take whatever opportunities they can get, they'll eat anything from elephant, very occasionally, to buffalo, which is very tricky for them to bring down because it's very big, hippos sometime, and even smaller animals. Desperate lions will even eat something like a tortoise. And the same goes for a lot of the predatory animals out here, even the birds of prey, the lion, the leopard, and the cheetah. All of the hunters have to be flexible with regards to what they like eating, because it's very difficult for them to catch their prey. It's quite common for us as humans to always think that it's easy for the lions to catch their food, but it really isn't. And 9 out of 10 times when they attempt to catch something, they actually fail. So the prey is better at escaping than the predator is at catching. There's no two ways about that. Very good. Well, for those of you who have just jumped on board this afternoon safari, it's time that we send you all the way back up to Kenya, to the Masai Mara, and we're going to be sending you up to Ralph.
Thanks, Scott, and hello to all the kids that have joined us from Alanton Elementary. I'm driving through the plains in the Masai Mara, the Mara Triangle, which is in Kenya. You can ask your teachers to show you where Kenya is. I'm sure you know by now, because we've had you for the last few days. Now, I was just telling a story to everybody about hyenas and lions, and something special that I witnessed, or I saw one day, was with some hyena that were hunting an ostrich, and they managed to catch the ostrich. There was about 10 hyenas, and they managed to catch the ostrich, and while they were busy starting to eat the ostrich, there were 2 lions that burst out of the rocks and chased the hyena off of the lion. Now, don't forget that my name is Ralph Kirsten, and I'm telling you the story about the lions and the hyenas. So the hyenas killed an ostrich, and these lions burst onto the scene, and they chased these hyenas a little bit away, and they started to steal some of the meat of the ostrich. But the hyenas, they all got together, and they thought, no ways, we killed this ostrich, we're going to take it back. And that's exactly what they did, and they chased those lions off of the ostrich and away from it. Luckily, the lions got a little bit of a piece of the ostrich, so they did get some food. But it just shows you that hyenas don't always just steal food from lions. Sometimes lions can steal the food from hyenas. So very interesting, hey? And we mustn't forget that hyenas can sometimes be very good hunters, and in some places even better than lions. Don't forget. So I'm making my way down towards the river. I'm hoping that we can find some hippos and crocodiles down there. So I'd love to show that to you, all the school children. So I hope that you are excited to see something like that. Maybe we'll see some special birds. Maybe there's an elephant down there having a little swim. Who knows? We never know when we go out in the bush. It's always exciting, because in the nature, we never know what's going to happen. And that's what I love about it anyway. But a little bit earlier, we did see some lions and hyenas, and that's why I was talking to you about a little story like that. But while I make my way down to the river and see if there's any hippos and the rest down there, let's head you on over to Taylor, who's on the other side of the river, because I'm sure she wants to say hello to all you children.
I'm going to say hello to all of you in just a second. I just want to try and jump off of the main road onto this smaller road, and then we'll have a look at the animals bouncing. Look at them. Go, Impala, go. Whee! Very cool. These animals are. Right, let me turn around. It's so muddy out here today. It's quite a nightmare, in fact. We've been slipping and sliding all afternoon long. But you're here finally. Welcome to all of the children watching from Allenton Elementary. It's very good to have you. My name is Taylor McCurdy. You may remember me from yesterday and the day before. And then on camera with me is Craig. And we're not in South Africa. We're in sort of the same area as Ralph. We're in the Masai Mara National Reserve. So we're just across the river from where Ralph is. And we're just going to let this vehicle go past. We're going to let them go through, and then we'll have a look at the animals afterwards. There's lots of other people that are on safari with us too, doing hands. Let me move. Sorry, everybody. There we go, and let's do it like this. So you can just see some impala over there. And I believe that all of you who are watching haven't joined before. That's so exciting. Well, welcome then. Then this will be the first time that you are looking at an impala. Now, to most people in South Africa, they would just drive past them because there's so many of them everywhere. But out here, even though they are all over, they are beautiful. Now, all of you are asking, wondering, how do I know so many different things about the different animals and, well, I suppose all things about nature? It takes a lot of practice and a lot of time of doing it every single day, kind of like with you going to school and having all your different subjects. You got maths and maybe you do geography and biology, and because you're doing it every single day, it's getting stuck in your head quite easily. So that kind of happens out here. Now, one of my favorite things that I remember about impala, and we were lucky, you may have seen them quickly leaping across the road, is that they're really good jumpers. Now, all the animals out here have to try and protect themselves in some way. Like you and I, we would pull fists and we would punch and we would kick or we would shout. Now, they're males. The big impala boys at the back, they've got the horns. So that's one way of protecting yourselves. But the girls, the females, they don't have any horns at all. So they're really quick. They can run super fast. And then as you saw, they can jump very far distances. And they don't have to be running very fast at all. So being able to leap really high and really far in distance is quite good when you're trying to escape from a cheetah or a leopard or a lion if they're chasing after you, because those would be just some of the predators that will be trying to eat impala. So it's pretty cool that you got to see them jumping. It's not all the time that they'll leap around. They don't want to use too much energy, so unless you're a young impala and you have a spring in your step, you might be racing around all day long, but the adults will try and conserve as much energy as they can. Now, I must tell you, that big ram in there, so that's what we call a male impala, a boy impala, a ram. He'll be very bossy with these girls. I'm surprised he hasn't worried about the others that are behind us that have actually been separated from the herd. Normally he's walking around constantly chasing everybody back together to try and keep them in a nice tight herd. So that's what we call a family of impala, is a herd. You can use a herd for lots of the different herbivores out here to describe a group of them. So now he's got his girls rounded up though, and he's just going to eat them. He's not going to eat them, he's going to eat the grass with the girls, and he's going to try and protect them. So they'll all be looking out for cheetah or wild dogs or lions or leopards that will be coming into the area. But it's nice and open here, so those predators would have to try and work very, very hard to try and get close to these impala. See there, see who's got out of line. Who has he spotted? And sometimes he makes the strangest noise. It's so funny. It's like a gurgling noise, which he will do if he sees any other impala rams wanting to try and come over here and take over his herd, because that's what will happen, is that there will be many contenders, much competition out here, unfortunately, for that impala ram. So hopefully he gets to do his job. But we're going to keep looking for lions and cheetah now. That's what we've been searching for most of the afternoon. And I'm going to send you across the Mara River to Ralph, who has got a really cool species of baboon.
Yes, everyone, we've managed to make our way down to the river, and look what we've found. One of the closest rivers to us not very close, but the closest that we have. But look at that. They are so human-like, doing a little bit of scratching. I think they're coming down for a bit of a drink here at the river. Maybe they're going to look for some insects and seeds and all sorts that they can find to eat next to the water. But it looks like they've got lots of fleas that they keep scratching. And sometimes you see the other ones trying to... That's what they call it, when one sits next to the other one and helps him get rid of his fleas. But look there, that must be quite tasty. Now, sorry everybody if there's some black screens that are coming up. That's just a little bit of the technical problems that we have, but I'm sure it should be fine now. And look at this baboon happily going about eating some of the plants that he's finding down here next to the river. Very interesting baboons are. Now, Alanton Elementary, thanks for your question. Does it rain every day in Africa? Well, not in all parts. The Masai, Kenya, it normally rains every afternoon because it gets very hot from the morning to the afternoon, and then in the afternoon we have some big thunderstorms. So it can rain quite a lot here in Kenya. But in other parts of Africa, especially if you look at the map, on the western of Africa, that's where it's normally very dry, and on the right side of the map or on the right side of Africa, that's when it's a lot more wet. Now, sorry everyone, it's lots of black screens. Maybe it's where I am. So let's head you on over to Noel, and I'm sure the picture will be better there.
Hello everyone, we're waving to you from the drone's eye view. It's super exciting. I'm loving it. And then of course we've got the lions in front of us here. Now we're gonna have to land the drone shortly, just so you're aware, so that we can put batteries inside and then keep going with our bird's eye view. And I'm just absolutely enthralled with this whole process. And these lions have figured out that it is a drone. They don't mind the noise. They don't care about anything that's happening. They're just resting away in the shade. So lions conserve their energy by resting. They sleep for about 16 to 20 hours a day, and they don't sleep heavy like we sleep. It's more of a little bit of a cat nap, excuse the pun. And they do that because they can't sweat. So they don't want to overheat their brains or their bodies, and so because they're covered in fur. And so they do this inside of the shady bits of trees, or sometimes if there's not a lot of foliage, they'll find sort of whatever little bit of shade they can. And if they can't find that much shade at all, they lay on their backs so that the whites of their bellies show and help reflect some of that heat. They're actually quite amazing predators, and they are an integral part of the ecosystem, especially here in sub-Saharan Africa. Not only do they take out prey that's sick or weak, but they also take out prey that's not sick or weak, and they help keep the genetics strong by making sure that they're working in conjunction with nature. And what I mean by that is when we go through something like a drought, when we have not enough rain, then the lions get a lot to eat, and then they reproduce nicely. Not that they don't reproduce nicely now, but they reproduce a bit more. Then what happens, so then the lion population soars. Then what happens is, let's say the drought continues, then the lion population will go like this, and it always ebbs and flows this way. And let's say it's soaring because there's a drought, that they'll take out a lot of especially the sicker and weaker animals, and then the strong DNA carries on. And then when the rains come back up, then those strong animals make even stronger animals, and then the lion population dips down, and then they have to build themselves back up, so that everything's in conjunction and working together with each other so that the ecosystem is functioning fully. It's actually pretty incredible how Mother Nature works. Now our drone seems to be flying around behind us a little bit. I'm hoping, we're gonna land over there in the back. Landon, you would like to know how long have I been doing these drives. So Landon, I've been guiding. I've been going into my 11th year of guiding, and I've been with Safari Live for going on 4 months now. It'll be 4 months in February, at the end of February there. So I've been doing guiding for over a decade. And then I've been doing these special interactive safaris that we do with Safari Live only for a few months. But my friend Seb, that's on camera, has been doing this. How many years now, Seb?
Doing what, sorry?
How many years have you been with Safari Live now?
On and off, 5, 6 years.
Seb's been doing this for about 5 or 6 years on and off. It's pretty amazing. All right, now my friend Scott has another predator that he would like to show you. So let's head on over to him, and you guys can ask Scott maybe how long he's been guiding and how long he's been with Safari Live.
Well, isn't this exciting stuff? Not just the lions this afternoon, but also this beautiful, beautiful leopard. And this is the same leopard I was talking about earlier. Her name is Thandi, and that means to love or to like in the local African language, Shangaan and Zulu. And she's got a tiny little cub somewhere, but it's very small, and we're not too sure where it's hidden away. But hopefully a little bit later on it will pop out and grace us with its presence. You can see she's panting quite heavily. It's not only because it's a hot afternoon, but also because she's been feeding on 2 different kills for the last 36 hours or so. And she's done incredibly well to catch 2 meals at the same time. And you can see now where they are hoisted up in the tree. You can see 2 legs dangling down there. That's a small antelope called a duiker. It was fully grown though, but it's just a small sized antelope. And then to the left you can see a little bit more fur between those kind of the V and those branches over there. That was a baby waterbuck that she caught. So not easy to see. Maybe if you go down a bit, Sens, we might be able to see the waterbuck's hooves. There we go. There we can see one of the hooves of the waterbuck. So she's very cleverly stashed those kills up in the tree, where any sneaky hyena won't be able to come and steal them from her. And the hyena did actually learn that there was some food here, and this morning when Tristan came onto the scene, one of our other guides, he found a hyena right below the tree, just waiting patiently, hoping for one of those carcasses to fall out. And as long as the kill is up in the tree, the hyena's got no way of getting it. And isn't it incredible how strong the leopard are? Imagine if you had to carry something, your own body weight, in your mouth and climb up a tree with it. So they're very, very powerful and certainly very, very good climbers. But now she's just enjoying relaxing in the shade of this small bush. It's definitely more comfortable on the ground than up in the tree. So, great stuff, and I'm hoping that once it does cool down a little bit later on, we are going to see hopefully the cub come out. There's a strong chance that the hyena will come back if it's still not in this area. Once hyena know of a possible easy meal, they very often keep coming back to check in to see if they can't get lucky with any little scraps that fall down from the tree. Good stuff. Well, it looks like we're going to have to put our patient pants on. I'm guessing she's not going to be active at any point soon, but hopefully I'm wrong. And that is one of my favorite things about being a safari guide. You just never know when the animals are going to get up and start doing things. And I'm told you guys were chatting with Noelle about how long she's been a safari guide. And I've been working in the bush now for 10 years, so it's my 10-year anniversary working in the bush, and I've been lucky not only to work in South Africa but also to spend a total of 3 years up in Kenya, not always in the Masai Mara but all around different parts of Kenya. And I guess Noelle's a great example to a lot of you guys at Allington School that even if you're an American, you can definitely still become a safari guide out here in Africa. And I would love to hear in 15 or 20 years time, when I'm walking around with a walking stick, that one of you guys are driving a Safari Live vehicle. And you guys would like to know how hot it is here in South Africa. Well, it all depends, just like in America, it depends whereabout you are in America. You say in Virginia, it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Sabi Sands, where we are here, it can be quite hot and sticky at this time of the year, and I'm guessing it's well into the 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm actually just being corrected. It's 86 degrees Fahrenheit exactly at the moment, so quite hot and also quite sticky and humid. Even when it gets quite warm up in the Mara, it's not that hot and sticky as it is down here. And it is important to remember that there are some very cold parts of Africa, and it is also our summer here. So it does vary depending on the time of the year and where exactly you are. Thankfully today we've got quite a strong breeze. You'll see a lot of the leaves blowing in the wind, and that's definitely helping us keep cool. Okie dokie, well, we are not going to be going anywhere. I'm going to start scanning with my binoculars to see if I can't find out where this little cub is hiding. And while we do that, we're going to send you on board with Taylor, who's on the search for some animals.
We're still driving around looking for our cheetah, looking for our lions, but we're not having any luck. But I found some warthogs, so we shall have a look at some. No, don't run! Come back! Always running, but I don't blame them out here. You have to be quick on your feet if you are something like a warthog. You can see there's 2 adults and 2 little piglets. I'm sure she would have had a few more, but sadly these little warthogs, they don't survive to adulthood. Most of them won't make it to being fully grown, which is quite sad. Now, Lantern Elementary, you're wondering if we have rabbits. We're not looking at any rabbits now. I suppose, though, one thing that rabbits and warthogs have in common, though, is that they live underground, that they dig burrows, and that's where they stay. But out here we have scrub hares, and then down in South Africa, the only real rabbit that I've seen, other than a domesticated one that you can get from the pet shop, is a riverine rabbit, and they're quite rare, in fact. And I've been lucky, though, to see them down in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. But out here, maybe it's just before the sun goes down, we should start to see some scrub hares moving around, but they don't live underground. They don't dig holes and burrow like rabbits and the warthogs do. They live above the ground. But there's also a little Thompson's gazelle, but the warthogs are very nervous, and I think it's because of me. They don't have the greatest eyesight. It's okay, but their sense of smell is probably their best. And there isn't much wind today, so you can see they keep stopping and looking towards me, so that's how I know that they're nervous of me, but it's okay. We'll give them a bit of room. They've got lots and lots of space now, so hopefully they'll start to relax and then just go back about their day. They were just grazing. That's one of their favorite things to eat, is all the grass and the grass roots and grass seeds, and if there's any fruit around, they'll gobble that up too. But those little piglets will still be suckling. They're not very old. They're actually some of the smaller ones we've seen. The others have almost quadrupled in size. They grow very quickly. Careful, little pig, don't wander off. That's how you'll find yourself in a little bit of trouble. Taking the scenic route back to mum. No, now your sibling is following in suit. That's no good. Now, lots of different things will eat little piglets. So, from young cheetah, which they could be in this area, learning to hunt, they'd go for something like warthogs. Snakes, we've got big pythons out here, and because of all the rain at the moment, there's lots of marshy areas, and the pythons love those spots. And if the warthogs go and wallow in them, well, they could gobble one up like that. Then lions and leopards, of course, will eat the warthogs too. And at the moment, the lions are focusing on eating and chasing after warthogs. Ralph was actually lucky. Earlier on in the show, he had a lioness chasing a warthog. I've seen some lions, Craig. I don't know if we're going to have signal down there, though. That's my only worry. But let's go. Down in the distance, I'll just point it out to you, Craig. On that tree, you know there's a shrub in the middle? To the left of that. On your other left? No, that's your right. Here we go. So we'll... where the cars are, to the left of the cars. Sometimes you forget your left and right. So there's everyone on safari. So Craig, right on the in between the... Yes, it's basically in between those trees. I can see the lions. There we go. If you go straight in, You might be able to see it just sitting on the edge of the tree line, but it's very far away. So we're going to see if we can go down there. I'm not sure which pride it is, but somebody else that's already found a lion is Noelle, and I think she's a lot closer to them than I am.